Peace, peace.
Hey.
What is up, you guys? It is your favorite twins, Ariam
And Yodit.
and you're tuned in to deuxsol Radio.
That's right. Your favorite twins are back talking all things music and culture.
Because two takes are better than one, but twin takes are even better. And we're back with another episode.
Happy New Year? Is it too late to say Happy New Year? I think.
You know, I debate about that a lot because it's technically still January.
Right?
And it's not like, well, it is on the edge of January, but it is the first month of the year. So I think technically we can say Happy New Year.
I think everyone should stop February 1st.
Yes.
Yeah, let's give ourselves that grace.
I draw the line at February. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're still saying Happy New Year to me, I'm going to be looking at you crazy.
Yeah, but this is our first time saying Happy New Year on deuxsol Radio.
Yes.
So no one has heard us say that on this platform.
Very true. So Happy New Year to those who are tuning in. Super excited for what the year has ahead for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be more episodes, more guests, more conversation. So
it's going to get lit. It's going to be fun. Can't wait.
Yeah.
But we're just going to jump right into our first episode of the new year.
Yes, yes.
And this episode is really inspired by this song that I can't quite get out of my head and never thought I'd be saying it, but here we are.
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus, girl.
Yeah, the grip that you're having on us. I was impressed, but I think it's earned. The song Flowers is really, really good. If you haven't heard it, you've probably heard it on TikTok. You've probably heard it on social or wherever you are.
It's literally everywhere.
It is. And the visual dropped simultaneously. And she was serving looks. She was giving us choreography.
She was dropping Easter eggs left and right. I mean, this was like her opportunity to be an open book about her relationship with her ex-husband, Liam Hemsworth. Did I necessarily want to know the information? I didn't know. I didn't know until I watched this video and listened to the song that I thought to myself, I'm pretty intrigued.
Yeah.
What happened?
Right. Because a lot of fans are online theorizing on the symbolism, the kind of imagery that you get to take a peek at and kind of alludes to a lot of things that happened over the course of their relationship.
Are they jabs or is she just speaking her truth? We won't know.
I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's giving.
Yeah.
It's definitely giving. And what's interesting about the song and the fact that, also fun fact, it just beat a record on Spotify for one of the highest streams singles in a week. It just beat BTS's record that they've held for quite some time. So
yeah,
there's a number of reasons I think why the song is trending. She's obviously been, she hasn't had any music out in a while. This is her return. The song is catchy. The visuals, like we mentioned, are stunning. But there's a lot to unpack with the song, and that's what we wanted to dedicate our episode to. But before we get into it, I wanted to talk about what's making the song interesting is that there's a lot of similarities to another popular song that we've heard years ago. I'm talking about Bruno Mars's When I Was Your Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of similarities in the chorus or the hook specifically.
For those who haven't heard the song, When I Was Your Man by Bruno Mars goes like this, quote unquote, I should have bought you flowers and held your hand, should have gave you all my hours when I had the chance, right? So that's just the general idea of how the song goes. And then Miley Cyrus's song goes, I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand. So you guys feel that there's parallels within the lyrics.
What's interesting about it is people are like, is he getting credit for the song? But the answer to your question is he doesn't actually technically need to be owed anything because this is not even a sampled song or an interpolation. This is actually considered what they call an answer song.
Yes, especially in this era where there's so much sampling, there's so much interpolation. Does he get publishing credit? And the answer, like Yodit said, is no, because technically it's not a sample because none of his original production is present in the song. The sound of the song itself is quite different.
Yeah.
And then it's not interpolation because there's no, melodies that are the same either. The words are similar, but it's technically an answer song because
all the lyrics are responding.
Yes.
To the lyrics that were stated.
So Miley just did a loophole on us.
So We just learned a whole songwriting lesson, y'all. If you didn't know, now you know.
It's so common that we hear these older songs that we grew up listening to, or even songs that we had no idea were samples or had no idea were interpolations. So it kind of inspired us to go down a list of some songs that are actually samples or answer songs. Starting off the list, everybody knows Dolly Parton's Jolene, okay? You do.
Yes.
Your mama knows it. Your cousins know it.
Yep.
You know it. Your kids will know it too.
Yes.
And nobody wants a Jolene in their life. But there is a song by singer Cam called Diane.
Mm-hmm.
And there are actually some parallels between the two songs because she's doing an answer song. She is speaking from the potential perspective of Jolene. So Jolene goes, you can have your choice of men, but I can never love again.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one for me, Jolene. And then Diane by Cam goes, oh, I promise you, I didn't know he was your man. I would have noticed a gold wedding band, Diane. I'd rather you hate me than not understand. Oh, Diane. You see, she does the oh,
Response.
Diane, just like Dolly Parton goes, oh, Jolene. But technically it's not a sample and technically it's not an interpolation, but she's answering to the perspective as if Jolene, you know, gets her say, you know, finally after all these years of Dolly Parton, you know, scorning that Jolene character, you know. So that was pretty interesting.
I'm petty. I don't want to hear her side. I want to keep it as is, you know. Like I know the response is there, but I feel like what makes Jolene so iconic is the fact that, you know, we only get Dolly's perspective and she delivered for us. So it's good to know.
I mean, I personally don't care for that Jolene character, but maybe Jolene didn't know he was married.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
We don't really know. We've never heard her side.
You're right, Ariam. We got to direct our attention at the core.
But she does say, I would have noticed a gold wedding band.
Okay, maybe we did need the perspective after all.
Yeah. But there's so many like other answer songs. Like technically you have Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica, right? Versus Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney's Girl Is Mine. People might have thought, is that interpolation? Is that a sample song? But technically the songs don't sound the same at all.
There's no
melodic similarity. There is
or
no
lyrical as well.
The only thing that's remotely similar is they switch girl to boy, but that's not enough of an argument to bring lawyers to get, you know, access and rights to the song.
Right. It's just more so like this is their own version of that kind of conflict.
Yeah.
But I am so glad Brandy and Monica did that for us because that is still the go-to song for like anyone that's thinking about like the classic R&B
battle
duets. Like that's definitely on the list. They won a Grammy for a reason for it.
Yeah. Another answer song, Roxanne Shantae's Roxanne's Revenge is a response song to UTFO's Hanging Out, Roxanne. See, that song became popular because she made that, you know, response to that song, you know? So that's another example.
And it helps that her name is Roxanne Shantae.
I know, right?
It's pretty dope that worked out.
That did work out. So I feel like it played more into like the response of like as speaking from the Roxanne character, you know? So
yeah, I love that. Yeah, that worked out really, really well. And I think that
blew up. It was
one
very
of her
popular.
Like, most iconic songs. So shout out to her for hopping on that. I think that was meant to be for sure. And then there's like so many other songs like I feel Billy Paul's Me and Mrs. Jones. Because then Amy Winehouse did her own version with Me and Mr. Jones.
You know, I didn't realize that until you pointed that out.
Like, I used to play
I never realized the connection.
Out. Like, Amy's version, like, man, rest in peace. But, yeah, like, I remember the original obviously came out in the 70s, so we would always hear it, like, played in the house with mom and dad, or it would be on some sort of love song compilation album that we would see on television.
Somebody's album.
So somebody was always hearing that song, and that was definitely like a huge song in culture that loving you is wrong, tension, that, you know, yeah, those kinds of love stories they always pan out really well in music and film and storytelling. And so I think that's why the song was so compelling for people. And then for Amy to do her own iteration of it was really, really dope. I used to play that out.
I never realized the connection to the two songs. I love Amy
It's told
Winehouse
from the female's perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is really cool.
And that's another clever way to do an answer song, right?
Yeah.
And then, so some examples of an interpolation, right? So Miley Cyrus, bringing her back into the conversation, right? She has a song called Prisoner with Dua Lipa, which I really like. But when I first heard it, I instantly knew it was an interpolation of Let's Get Physical with Olivia Newton-John. Because you can instantly hear she goes, prisoner, prisoner. And in the Olivia Newton-John song, she goes, I want to get physical. Like literally, like to me, that's a very clear example. And for that interpolation, I'm sure they get credit. But it's because it's so clear. You know, the melody is very like present.
Yeah.
And then what else? There's so many other examples. We got an interpolation of, and this is actually one that I don't, unless you're like a Rihanna fan, you don't really know for sure. But Rihanna on her Unapologetic album, she had a song called Jump, which is literally an interpolation of Genuine's Pony. I mean, she literally uses the chorus word for word. If you want it, let's do it, ride it, my pony. Like literally like word for word. She just switched up maybe. Yeah, and like if you're a Rihanna stan, you know that song. It didn't do like
the Navy knows.
Like I don't think it was like a single that was released. But if you knew the album, you knew Jump. Yeah, and like that's like a really like clear example that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think also people don't really talk about this one, but I feel like remember that song "Don't Tell Him" with Jeremiah and YG. Mm-hmm. And then if you think about it, it's definitely interpolation of that '90s dance song "Rhythm as a Dancer."
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I always was like, yeah, that song sounds familiar. But it was like the writing was there.
Yeah.
Like literally in the intro, like Rhythm is a Dancer, It's a Soul's Companion, You Can Feel It Everywhere in Snap. And then Jeremiah's song, Rhythm is a Dancer, I Need a Companion. Girl, I Guess That Must Be You.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna lie.
Why did I feel like
the original is
literally
obviously top tier? The original is obviously top tier. Like when we think about the 90s house music wave, like that whole movement, there was so much good music, and that was definitely one of like the best songs from that era. But I thought that Jeremiah's take was also really clever. It made it more modern and introduced folks to that, you know, that sound.
And so this song is actually a good example because it's an interpolation because of the actual lyrics. And then also it's a sample because they actually use production from the original song by Snap, but it's just super slowed down. So you're really just hearing the bass in it. So that's like a hybrid song. It's really hard to hear a song, especially that comes out now, that isn't influenced by a song that came out in the past, that doesn't have production from a song in the past, inspired in any way. And my question is, like, do we think that there's too many songs out where it's like you might accidentally be influenced by another? Or is it someone just not being creative enough?
I think there's definitely a fine line between inspiration and inviting. For sure. But I think that's the interesting part about creation. I feel like obviously I'm not an artist, but I feel like when I hear stories about songwriters and producers like really working their hardest to create something that's innovative or that happens to be inspired by something, like I think part of the game is making sure that you are being respectful of what's inspiring you. Yeah. So if you're going to pull some influences, like just making sure that you're doing your due diligence to credit who needs to be credited and stuff like that. Because obviously you don't want to, you know, be in a situation where you don't properly credit someone that's influenced you. Yeah. But if you're going to do like an interpolation or if you're going to do an answer song, you know, the fun part of paying homage to something that's inspired you respectfully is always like, I think it always leads to like a beautiful reward and like great music. Yeah. Because you don't want to end up in a sticky situation
I mean, as long as they're giving, you know, the artist credit where credit is due, that's fine. But a part of me feels like there are certain songs that you grow up loving and are attached to. And I don't know if it's because we've gotten older, but I feel like so protective of an original version of a song where it's like I kind of get defensive to a song that has sampled it or has sped it up or made it their own. And I feel like, you know, I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like certain songs I'm very like, why did they sample that, or why did they switch it up like that? Like the original is
Yeah,
like
if you're like attached
golden,
to the original,
you know?
for sure. I mean, it has to be done right. But
I feel like
that
if it's
is
done
also
right,
subjective, because you might think like someone's version or sample or their interpretation of something that's influenced them might not be doing the original justice, like you said. But it might sound good to somebody else.
Yeah.
Or it might be like introduced to a new audience who doesn't know the root of it or doesn't know the original sample. So I don't know. I think it's very interesting, like that whole conversation, because you definitely, I guess it just depends. It's a subjective experience.
Because I feel like there's certain songs that come out where they are clearly like doing like some cover of an older song, and it's done in such a fresh way, or it's done in like such a like 180 like version, like whether it's like slowed down or maybe done like an acoustic version, like for example like Yesterday by the Beatles versus Yesterday Boys to Men. Like for me, when I hear those two songs, I see them as two solo separate entities. You know, like I get a specific feeling when I hear Yesterday by Boys to Men, the way they switched it up and made it their own with their with the cover harmony. You know, I feel like, okay, I can see, like I'm here for that, you know. And I know obviously the Beatles get some credit from it, obviously it's the Beatles, but I just hope that when it comes to, you know, artists of color, they get their due when certain songs are sampled or interpolated or whatever the loophole is, as long as they are credited, you know.
For sure.
I'm also very protective of that.
Of course. Of course.
So it's interesting, you know, like songs that were getting sampled didn't bother me as much as a child. But I think as we're getting older, the songs that we grew up with, or exactly, like, not that, I mean, they made it really poppin', but like even like Fivio Foreign, like how he took Destiny's Child, Say My Name, like that song to me when we were growing up, that was fresh, that was new, it was something that was so fire to us when we were growing up, and now it's like, oh my god, this is a sample now, like we're getting old.
It's definitely humbling.
I was like, not Beyonce,
you know, like, not Say My Name. I felt like that was yesterday.
Not Beyonce being sped up. Like,
if we're sampling Beyonce, that's how you know we're getting old. But but what I love, that's the thing now. I feel like if I hear that and you feel attached to the original, like I know that tension that you were mentioning earlier about like, you know, being defensive and wanting to protect the original. I mean, now when it comes to sampling, like, you know, people are very like particular about that process. So like I know he actually had to get it approved by Beyonce before it became like sampled onto his song.
Imagine going to Beyonce and saying, hey B, I'm gonna sample your song. Like I would be terrified. Terrified.
Apparently with that, there's a funny story with that. Like apparently he had sent her like a version that's not what we currently hear now, and she heard it and she was like, this is a little too dirty. She's like, you don't need to clean this up. Be a little bit more respectful to women. And so he had to like go back and rewrite. And the version that we hear today is the one that she produced.
It's more like...
So she had some creative input. She was like, if you're going to sample this, let me make sure.
And like, who has that power? Only Beyonce. I'm sorry.
So I thought that was really cool. But it's cool to be like, if you're going to sample an artist's song, like have them feel like it's a collaborative process, and getting their blessing is really cool.
Especially when they're like an icon. You know, it's not like just any artist that you're sampling.
I mean, even First Class, you know.
Yeah, that's
by Jack Harlow.
That's another song. I feel like that
had to clear it.
Oh, will.i.am produced it.
Yeah, because he produced and wrote "Glamorous" by Fergie. And
that's a good one.
He was like, I forgot.
That's kind of how I felt too. I mean, Fergie was huge when we were growing up. You know, I mean, I'm a Black Eyed Peas stan. Like y'all don't know. Like I had Ella Funk and Monkey Business on a CD playing on my CD player when I was younger. I'm not saying when, but I was younger.
Well, the CD player gives it away.
I was on a school bus with a CD player. I was
all right. If anyone had any questions,
but I will say, okay, reeling it back in. So yeah, I was a big Black Eyed Peas fan. My sisters know it, and when Fergie did her solo career, I was still like, yeah, I'm gonna hang on to Fergie. And when Glamorous came out, I was like, oh my God, this song is such a vibe. And now Jack Harlow sampling it really made me feel old.
Yeah.
It made me feel extremely old. It's like, I thought the song was still hot.
Yeah.
And then you start doing the numbers, and then you're like, oh, that was actually some years ago.
Yeah. And you know what I'm going to need TikTok to chill on? I'm getting targeted with so much content that'll tell me these 10 songs are turning 20 years old today. And I'm like, are you serious? Like,
I literally want to cry.
Yeah. Like,
seriously.
I mean, after like you get hit by like 5 of those, everything starts to, make sense.
Stop targeting us on TikTok, okay? We know we're getting older.
The algorithm is working. Okay,
the algorithm. And you know what's sad? I'm gonna sit and watch the entire TikTok to see the songs that are
because I need to know. I need to know where I stand in time. I need to know.
Gosh, so sad. Actually, I mean, all these songs, I felt like they were, they premiered last year or yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow. Stop making us feel old, y'all. Come on. Okay.
Listen, we're just rich with experiences now.
Oh,
we have memories.
Is that what we're saying?
Yeah,
now?
It's all about perspective. That's what 2023 is all about. Okay? All about perspective.
Rich with, what did you say?
Yeah. Time gives us more memories. So, it's just wealth, a different kind of wealth.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever makes you feel better, but
listen,
it's definitely a rude awakening.
Don't do that, Aria.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But yeah, so hopefully, the songs that are continue to be sampled don't make us feel super old, and that the artists are definitely credited and paid. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And if the artists that are coming out now make it new and fresh and exciting, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just stop making us feel old.
Yeah, for sure. But if there are any songs that we didn't mention on this list that you feel like should be a part of this list, let us know.
Yes. Yeah. Comment on this video and let us know. I know there's so many. Like, there's so many.
Yeah. Give us an answer song, an interpolation, and a dope sample that should be on this list.
Yes. And we'll look out for it, probably listen to it, and basically decide if it's worth accepting or not.
For sure.
But yes, like Yodit said, comment below and let us know what you think. And that wraps up today's episode.
I know.
It's been real, guys. If you like what you saw, you can keep up with us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok at deuxsol. That's at deuxsol. And you can watch us on YouTube as well. And you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. If you can hear it, we'll be on it. Until next time, guys. Peace.